everybody, Brennan Crew here with CCTV. We're here at Concord Art yet again with their newest show. I'm here with one of the curators, Holly Harrison. Holly, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for being here.
Tell us what the name of the show is.
The show is called Inhabiting Words.
And what is the show all about?
It's basically about the interplay between words and image in artwork. So we chose a lot of artists who are concerned with or interested in or inspired by words in their work. In some cases there's actual words in the work, like in Leslie Dill's work here, and in other cases it's more just sort of a starting off point.
So where did the inspiration for the show come from?
It really came out of one of the specific artists whose name is Leslie Jackson, and she is both a published poet and an artist. And she passed away a few years ago, but her daughter is friends with someone who works here. And so that friendship became a conversation about doing a show potentially about poetry and collage. And then once we started exploring that, it sort of opened up a little bit more to be more sort of a mixed media and words.
Right, yeah, and you can tell there's a lot of different medias here that are being used. Which is really
we have sculpture, we have video, we have straight painting, and then there's a lot of mixed media.
So tell me a little bit about this artist here.
This is Leslie Dill, and this piece is called Unsayable Deep Quiet. She really was the inspiration for the title of the show. We spent a lot of time thinking about how to get a title that expressed what we were trying to say with the show. As we were sort of thinking about her work and talking about her work, we really thought about how she kind of inhabits words in her work. And so you can see here, she's got words, they're painted on, but they look a little collagey or printed.
Yeah.
And what the words are phrases that have been pulled out of poetry. So in this piece, you've got some words by Rilke, some words by William Faulkner, and then another poet, Tom Slay, who's a contemporary writer. Then she plays around with the image. She's got sort of these overlay of these eyes, which are actually collaged on, and then this interesting figure with, it's the figure, and then you can see there's a little sort of silk organza type. Also, what you kind of can't tell, which I think is one of the things that makes this piece so beautiful, is it looks like a giant sheet of paper, but it's really like a bunch of sheets that have been kind of stitched together.
Right.
So there's all this really beautiful seam work and edges that are kind of in there in this nice subtle way.
Yeah, you really have to get in close to see the details there about the stitching. That's really interesting. How do you go about doing these shows and picking the artists or the pieces?
Well, in this case, Leslie Dill is pretty well known in this world. There's been a lot of interest in Emily Dickinson recently. And Emily Dickinson is like a huge inspiration for her. She spent a lot of time exploring her work. She's done a lot of, she also works in metal. She does metal sculptures. She was actually an English major when she was studying in school, and then when she started to read Dickinson, it just sort of created this inspiration for her. And she said when she reads poetry, she has like a visual experience of the words. So she sort of brought that to her work. So we were aware of her already, and then generally we spend a lot of time on artist websites. We look at pieces and we try to think about like what pieces speak to us personally. This piece is just such a stunner. It's big and it's beautiful. Colors are also easy in terms of making it connect with other work. Sometimes if you have a piece that's too bold or too busy, it's not going to work well in a group show, even though it's a very beautiful piece.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, great. So let's go see another one of the artists featured.
Okay, fantastic.
So Holly, what artist do we have here?
So this is a beautiful large piece by Squeak Carnuth, and she is a West Coast artist. We just really fell in love with this piece because it's so colorful and it's playful and interesting. And she has kind of a couple of bodies of work. This is a newer body where she's really just focusing on these song titles. In general, her approach to using words in her work is, she kind of thinks about how does language enter your life, and she focuses on things she hears and maybe some, to-do lists that she has or a song she hears on the radio. So these pieces are really just focused on the music. And what was fun about them is that they also have little headphones, and so people can put on the headphones, and she's created a playlist, which is the songs in order as they appear in the piece. And people have really been enjoying that kind of extra step of interacting with the piece and getting to hear what was really going on in the artist's
Right, yeah, and that's a big influence for her, so you can really get inside her head in that regard. Yeah,
and it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are these original songs or just songs that are probably popular and that have spoken to her? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pop songs. So like you'll see, there's Britney Spears, "Oops, I Did It Again."
Right.
But then you've got Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World," "Take Me to the River," "Suspicious Minds," "Little Elvis."
Fancy.
So it's really all over the place,
really?
Which is really very fun.
When you're curating a show, how important is it for you to get different mediums in their mediums?
It really depends on the show.
Right.
I think because this show was focused on mixed media, we really were open to kind of anything. We tried to have everything have a real feeling of the artist's hand in the work. And so even the video, we have a video piece downstairs, but it's literally, an artist's hands setting something up, and then it's sort of a shot down on that. I think that's probably what ties all of these works together, is that you really feel kind of the hand of the artist in the work.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of a tour. I think I'm going to keep going and see the rest of the pieces with Molly.
Okay, great. Thanks,
All right.
Brendan.
Okay, we're here with Molly Paul, the other curator for this show. Molly, tell me about the artist we have here.
This is Rhoda Rosenberg. She's a printmaker.
Okay.
And she teaches in Boston. This piece is
Really interesting.
very interesting, and it's paper that she has glued together, the strips, as she has written a letter to her mother every day for a year after her mother died.
Oh, wow.
So it starts in the middle, and she ends at the end of the year on the outside. And it's all wound around, and the print is on the inside, so you can't actually read this letter unless you unwind the whole thing.
Right.
But the coil in itself is absolutely beautiful.
With the letter itself, is there a transcript, or is it something probably the artist wanted to keep private, and that's why it's wrapped on the inside?
Yeah, well, that's interesting that you asked that, because that is her work, and you can see it in the other these other pieces. She writes, and it's in a public place, but it's very private. It's kept private in this case because the letters are so tiny that you really can't see them. Also here, she's written on this printed coil, she's written in gold. I'm not sure what it's about because I haven't been able to see more than 2 or 3 words at a time.
Yeah.
But all of these are prints, and she's very interested in the coil, and she's been working with it for years. And in this case, it's a coil that's come undone.
Yeah, that's an interesting piece right there compared to the other work, especially. She's really honed her craft, it seems like, with these pieces, and almost come, full circle to here from, starting with the organized idea there.
And she will work over a number of years with a particular idea.
So Molly, are there any other examples of her work here?
Yes, there are. This was a letter to her mother, and she did a lot of work about her mother and other autobiographical work. Downstairs we have several books that she made. One of them is a collection of prints and poetry and photographs of her mother and her grandmother. The poetry is by women poets. One summer she spent the entire summer exploring women poets. And she layered all these things into an amazing book. She has another book downstairs that is built like an accordion. And so the words are inside, and it's very difficult to read them. And again, this is because she finds something so private that although all her art is about these words and poems, she can't necessarily share them.
Well, it's interesting that, they're so private, but she does feel the need to express it in some way, shape, or form, maybe for, personal solitude or something like that.
Yeah, it is her muse. It's her life. Right. It's what makes her an excellent teacher as well, because she can ask her students to think about their lives, which, of course, undergraduate students in particular are perfectly willing to do. And they can mine that for material.
Absolutely.
For their printmaking.
That's great. So why don't we check out another one of the artists?
Yeah.
So Molly, who do we have here?
This is Deb Todd Wheeler. She's a conceptual artist, and this work is a little bit unusual for her. It's based on the readings of an anthropologist called Tim Ingold, who wrote about animism. And it's also based on a particular piece of land in New Hampshire where she cut all the wood and made these walking sticks. And the entire work is called Zone of Terrestrial Engagement. And the walking sticks at this property in New Hampshire are actually piled by a parking lot, and you're to take one when you arrive and walk up to the visitor center for what is a sculpture park. And there's writing on these sticks, which she burned into each stick. And they're words from Tim Ingold's essays. This says, for example, by the parallel, this says, upon the bedrock of unconscious predisposition. And this one says, enduring fascination. And the idea is you'll read the phrase, take your walking stick, and you'll think about those words as you walk through this property up to the visitor center. But even here in a gallery setting, they make you stop and think about what it's all about.
Absolutely. And in the context of, going to this park in New Hampshire, it's something that I've never heard of. I would love to go there now.
Yeah.
So this is just a small piece of her bigger set, if you will, or
Yes.
is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, she's made dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of sticks. They're all carved. There are a lot of different kinds of woods. This one has a crystal on the top. Some of them are painted. Some of them are set in pewter.
Now, does she typically just draw heavily from nature itself, or?
I don't think that she does. Really? She draws on ideas, and this one in particular was because she was inspired by nature first when she went to Iceland on an artist's fellowship. And part of the artist's fellowship was hiking with fellow artists under very rough circumstances. Right. And she was introduced to Tim Ingold's writing, and animism is the idea that everything is alive in nature in a conscious way, in the way that people are. The trees are alive and rocks are alive. Tim Ingold has explored animism from an unusual point of view, so she was very interested in that idea.
Yeah, and you can see it here. Terrific influence. Molly, thank you so much for showing me these pieces. This is an amazing show here. I'm definitely going to walk around some more. Thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you. Do walk around. There's so much more to see.